I'm requesting learners to stop their video. Okay, thank you, learner. Sir, the time is 12. I'm pressing on the start recording button, and then I will make you, sir, to present your session.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, very good afternoon, learners. Welcome to 12 to 1 session of DOE, Directorate of Online Education, Manipal University, Jaipur. In this session, we are having a speaker, Dr. Alok Bhargav, who will deliver the session on basic mathematics course. Welcome, Dr. Bhargav, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, you may please start your session. You may share your screen and start your session. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I am sharing my screen here so that you people can see all the things. In the previous class, we have seen an introduction related to the set theory. And today we'll move in the set theory and discuss more things about the set theory. And then in the end of the session, we'll discuss the application of the set theory. Well, I have shared this screen. Probably it will be visible in few of seconds. Due to number of technical glitches, so many problems will face here.
Yes, sir.
I
Your
hope
screen
is visible now.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir. Screen is visible, sir.
Okay, okay.
But actually presentation slide is not visible, sir.
That is opening.
Yes, sir. Oh, okay. Yes, sir. We are able to see the
Okay,
first slide. Sir, requesting you to please press on slideshow.
I have done, sir.
Great, sir. Great. It is in the process. Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
So guys, just see here that we have already discussed that what is the set, and we have seen the definition, the well-defined collection of objects, and we have already discussed that what is the meaning of well-defined. So basically, after completion of this topic, you guys will be able to describe the set concepts and their properties. You can apply the set concepts to the real world problems to get their solutions. And this is what that we have learned in the previous session. But let me remind you once again that a well-defined unordered collection, that means the order of the elements, order of the objects is not necessary. So the unordered collection of none of or more of the elements or the distinct objects is the set. And here, as we discussed that what is the meaning of this well-defined, that means that we should be able to determine if a given element is contained in the set which is under consideration or in the collection which is under consideration. And we have discussed that when we'll look over a collection of good cricket players or the good tennis players in a district or in a town, then we are not able to identify exactly that which player is good and which player is not good, because for that the rule of considering that one is not clear. So in that thing we are not able to define that what is the correct definition for the good player, and that's why that is not a set. So see, when we take the collections of rivers in India, then obviously it is a set, because we are looking for the rivers, those are in India. We are not mentioning whether it is due to the natural part or it is due to the weather. So it doesn't matter, but that must be a river. The collection of vowels in English alphabet, and that is very clear that A, E, I, O, U is the collection, and that is a set. The collection of all positive integers, those are less than 10. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the collection of, as I told you, that the good cricket players, this is not a set, as the collection is not well defined. Right? Now, let us see that how do we represent a set, and what are the elements or the objects of that set. The objects, the objects, those are taken in the collection, are called as the elements or the members of the set. And usually we denote these sets by the capital letters A, B, C, X, Y, P, Q, R, like that. And the elements of the set by, in general, the lowercase letters like this A, B, C, this. And it might possible that these elements not only with the letters, but these may be the numbers. These may be some other objects like a book, pen, eraser, like this. So that may be anything, but all these are called as the elements, and all these elements we should put in between the curly braces. And if there is any element x, which is we are saying that in this is in this set particularly, then we can represent it by this x belongs to A. And if y is not belongs to A, that means this is not the element of the set A, then we'll write like this: y does not belongs to the set A, this one. So this means this is in this set A, and it means that this is not in this set A. How do we can form a set? There are basically two types of ways. One is the roster form, and this is what that in this form actually will list the elements in the braces. That is, if we have 4 elements 1, 2, 3 and 4, then the set A is represented as this 1, 2, 3, 4, or the set V of all vowels in the English alphabet is what? That is this A, E, I, O, U. And when we look for the set builder form, the other part, then in this what will we do? That will follow the instruction, follow a rule. Like if we see here that A is what? A is the set of all elements X. Those are following this rule P. Like if the set V of all vowels A, E, I, O and U in this English alphabet, then we can write that set like this, that V is the collection of all those element X, and this is called as such that X is a vowel in English alphabet. So when we'll write this, then obviously the collection is representing this one. Another one, this set is what? This set can be written as like that, the collection of all the elements X such that X is an integer where X is positive and X is, this means X is greater than 0 and X is less than 5. So all the integers, those are lying between 0 and 5. That is what? 1, 2, 3 and 4. Or you can write it as X is a positive integer whose square is greater than 0 and less than 25. That means we'll take the integers like the 1. 1 is what? The square of that one is 1, that is positive. Square of 2 is 4. Square of 3 is 9. Square of 4 is 16. But the square of 5 is what? That is 25, and that is not less than 25. So all these elements are in the set, and they can be written from these rules. There may be another rules by which we can write this set also. So this is the set builder form. Let us see here some standard sets. The first of them is this set of natural numbers, which is denoted by this capital N, and it contains the elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on. And another set is this, a set of integers that is denoted by I or by Z, and it contains all the integers, those are whether positive or negative. That means all the natural numbers, those are with the negative sign also, right? And the next one is the set of whole numbers. How this set of whole number is different from the set of natural numbers? This is what? That if we contain 0 also here, then this is representing the set of whole numbers. The set of rational numbers, all the elements like this P by Q, where P and Q are the real numbers. We'll see what are the real numbers. And the rational numbers are what? Rational numbers are actually in the form of this 1 by 2, 3 by 2, like that, where this Q, the denominator, is not equal to 0. Q dash is the set of all irrational numbers. And what are irrational numbers? irrational numbers are non-terminating and non-repeating in nature. Like this 1/2, it is what? It is 0.5. So what happened that after this first decimal place, the number terminates. That means there will be 0, 0, 0 and so on. So it means what? That this is a irrational number. This is a rational number. This is not irrational. The example of rational numbers are like this: root 16/9. That is what? That is 4/3. And that is a rational number. But the square root of 8, the pi, square root of 2/5, these are irrational numbers example. Like this is the example of irrational number. The set of real numbers, that is denoted by R, and it is a set in which any number of real world can be put, that is the real number. So every number, that is whether it is a natural number or an integer or a whole number or a rational number or an irrational number, all these numbers are the set of real number. And C is the set of complex numbers, where this the collection of such numbers x plus minus iota y. This iota, that means I, is what? I is the square root of -1, and here x and y are the real numbers. So look here that you can see that the set of complex numbers C is the largest set, and it contains all the sets. And the second set, the second largest set, is this real number. Basically what happened that in your study will not look over the set of complex numbers right now. So you can see here that the set of real numbers containing the rational number as well as the irrational number. The set of rational number contains the non-integer rational numbers as well as the integers. Integers are the negative one and the positive one of the whole numbers, and whole numbers containing the 0 and the natural numbers. So you can see that this is the father and this is the grandfather of all these elements. Now let us see certain different sets. The first one is this empty set, or it is called as the void set or the null set. Can you tell me, or can you see that this man holding something in his hand and that is quite blank? So a set which has no element is called a null set or empty set or void set, and it is denoted by the symbol this phi. And some of the mathematicians called it phi, but in our Indian communication we'll call it phi. Or it is denoted by this set. It is denoted by this set, this blank, that is does not contain any element. Like if we take this example that x such that x is greater than 7, right? And x is the number of days in a week. So it means what? That you have to find the number x, which is here. This you have to find, and x is what? That x is a number which is greater than 7, and x is the number of days in a week. As you know that the total number of days in a week are 7. So how it is possible that the number should be greater than 7? It is not possible. So ultimately for this set we do not have any element, and that's why it is a null set. The second one, that x, the collection of all the elements x such that x is a female pope. As you know that in Christian society the pope never be a female, it is a male. So obviously this set does not contain any element, and therefore it is denoted by this 5. The next one is the set of 500-meter tall ladies. Is it possible? No. In our human family we never see this kind of thing, that a lady or a man is of 500 meter tall. So this set is also an empty set. Then the finite and infinite set. A set which contains finite number of elements. That means you can count them. Then it is called a finite set. Otherwise, it is an infinite set. You can see here that in this picture, you can see the 4 birds. So this set, the collection of these birds, is a finite set, but the collection of the stars in this universe or in this picture, you can see it is not possible that we can count them. So that is an infinite set. Next, we'll see that cardinality of a set. It is what? It is actually the number of elements in a finite set or in a set. That is the cardinality. But as you know that we can count only in the finite set. That's why we denote, we write here that in a finite set. So the number of elements in a finite set is the cardinality of the set. In case of infinite sets, they are either either said to be of infinite cardinality or the cardinality not defined for them, right? And that obviously the cardinality of a null set is 0 because it does not contain any element. For a set A, if we are saying for the cardinality, then it is denoted by n of A or this modulus of A, that is denoted for the cardinality, right? So just see, if we take an example that find the cardinality of this set particularly, which is defined here, which contains these names Gauri, Kyana, Mehul, Darsh, Ritvik, Ravi. So how many elements are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the cardinality of this set A is 6. If we see over this example that find the cardinality of the set, that this set contains all the elements X such that X is a natural number and that natural number is lying between 3 and 14. So in between 3 and 14, how many natural numbers are there? Just look at here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. So how much? These one. Because 15 we cannot include and 3 we cannot include. And you can see that these numbers are here. So the cardinality of this set is 11. Next one is this singleton set. A set which contains only one element is called a singleton set. Like the set of all non-negative prime numbers which divides every non-zero integer. So what it is? Like all the prime numbers. What are those prime numbers? Prime numbers are those numbers, those are the divisor of itself. मतलब सिर्फ और सिर्फ वही एलिमेंट्स हैं जिनको कि वो खुद ही डिवाइड कर सकते हैं या खुद ही खुद से डिवाइड हो सकते हैं. That means if I have a number 2, then its divisors are 1 and 2. And you can see that for every number, 1 is the divisor. So we do not include 1 in the prime numbers. The first prime number is the integer 2. The second one is 3. 4 is not a prime number because 4 is divisible by 2, right? 5 is a prime number. So what is the set? The set of all non-negative, that means those are not negative. Prime numbers, that means starting from 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11 like this, which divides every non-zero integer, जो कि हर non-zero integer को divide करे. तो ऐसा integer कौन सा है? ऐसा तो सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक ही है. सिर्फ एक है. कौन सा? The set of all non-negative prime numbers which divides every non-zero integer. तो वो number खुद ही है ऐसा सिर्फ. So it means that this set contains only one number. So you can see that the singleton set is what? That which contains only one person or one number. This is indicated here. two sets are said to be equivalent set. Look, two things are there, equal and equivalent. Equivalent means what? That the cardinality of two sets are same. If A and B are two sets, then if their cardinality, that means the number of elements are same. If the number of elements are same, then we'll say that these two sets are equivalent, and we'll denote them by this, the equivalent sign, or this one. Just look that we have these two sets A and B. Look how many elements in this set A we have. There are 4 elements, and in this set B we'll have 4 elements. So these two sets are equivalent sets. Like here, that this set contains 5. This set contains 5 elements or 5 letters, and this contains the 5 months name. So these two sets are equivalent. And if the equivalent sets also have the same element, then we'll say that these two sets are equal. Means what? If we see that this is the set P, which contains 1, 2, 3, 4, and another set is what? That is this Q, which is also containing the elements 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the cardinality of both P and Q are same, as well as the elements are also same. So these two sets are said to be equal sets, right? Disjoint or distinct sets. Two sets are said to be disjoint. That means there is no joint between them, or they are totally different if there is no common element between them. So if we see that, if we'll take a set A, which is the set of all positive even integers, yes, set of all positive even integers, and B is the set of all odd whole numbers. Positive even integers means 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, like this, and the set of all odd whole numbers, that is 1, 3, 5, 7, so on. You can see that none of the element is common between them. So these two sets A and B are said to be disjoint sets. You can see here that if I draw a picture, then you can see that this set A and B are not having any common element. Similarly, these one. The subset and the superset, what it is? If we see two sets, suppose A and B, and they are in such a way that every element of the set A is also in the set B, then A is said to be the subset of B, and we denote it by this, that A subset of B. Here you can see this equals, the line for the equal sign is also here. What it means? It means that these two sets may be equal, because that is the case, that it is possible that A is equal to B. So that's why it is here. And here B is called as the superset of A. That means B contain all the elements of this set A. Let us note these, that the null set is the subset of every set. Correct? Null set is a subset of every set, number one. And the set itself is also the subset of itself. So there are two sets. One is what? One is the null set, and another one the set itself. These are two compulsorily subsets of every set. Correct? Like here you can see that P is this set. P is this set 1, 3, 4, and Q is this set. You can see that this set Q contains 3 and 4, but not containing 1. So P is not a subset of Q because the element 1 which is in P is not in Q. So here you can see in this diagram that when all the elements of a set is in another set, then only the set can be called as the subset. Otherwise it is not. And a very, very important thing is what? That if a set has n number of elements, then there are 2 to the power n. Yes, 2 to the power n number of subsets for the set. Means what? If we have this set P, then there will be 2 raised to the power 3. That means 2 into 2 into 2. 8 number of subsets. Right? So if we see an example for such set and we try to find all those subsets, then you can see that for this set P, the one of the subset is what? The null set, as I told you, or you can write it as phi. The second one is the element 1. Third one is the element 3. Fourth one is the having element 4. Then 1 and 3, 1 and 4, 3 and 4, and this 1, 3 and 4. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 elements are there. And all these are the subsets of this set P. Correct? Let us see another kind of sets. One is this proper and improper subsets. Suppose S is a set, right? Then a subset of this set S other than this set S. Matlab, if we have the set S, then its number of subsets are 2 raised to the power n, where n is what? N is the element of the set S. So all the subset except the set itself are said to be the proper subset, and the set itself is called as the improper subset. Correct? And as we have seen that null set is the subset of a set. So this subset is a proper subset. So if we are looking for the improper subset of a set S, then the set itself is an improper subset. Otherwise, all of its subset are the proper subsets. And when A is a proper subset of the set S, then we'll write it like this, because there is no possibility that the set A is equal to this set S. So now you can understand that when we have written over there that A is the subset of the set S, then it means what? It means that there is a possibility that this set A is equal to this set S. But if it is not equal, then it is a subset. And if a set have n number of elements,
चलते रहेगा. आपका मोबाइल डाटा थोड़ा सा चाहिए मुझे 12 तक.
Shakti sir, please mute yourself.
Yes, please.
If a set have n number of elements, then there are total 2 to the power n minus 1 number of proper subsets. As I told you that there are 2 to the power n subsets, but for the proper subsets we have to exclude this set itself. So that's why it is minus 1. So if you have to find the total number of proper subsets, then these are 2 to the power n minus 1. And as I told you that the set itself is the only improper subset of the set. So you can see that here this set 1, 2 is the proper subset of this set, because this is not equal to this one. If a set has 3 elements, then find all the subsets of the set. There are 3 elements. So what happened? That the set A maybe these such elements. So how many subsets are there? So that is 2 raised to the power n, that is 2 cube, that is equals to 8 number of subsets. And if we'll try to list them, then you can list them like this. And how many proper subsets? So excluding this, which is what? Which is the set itself. So these are the proper subsets, and this is what? This is the improper subset. The power set of a set. If we collect all the subsets of a set, then that collection is called as the power set of the set S. So it means what? If we have a set S and it contains n number of elements, then the total number of subsets are 2 to the power n, and that is what? That is the number of elements in the power set. But the thing is important that the power set contains the elements as the sets also, right? And you can see that if we have a set A, that is this A, B, C, then power set of this set is containing all those 8 elements. That is what? Phi A element, B, C, AB, AC, BC, and ABC, right? So just look at here. It's a very interesting example that if a set A contains this set S has 3 elements, then how many subsets of the power set of S will have? So first of all, what is the power set? Power set of S. It contains the number of elements, that is 2 to the power 3, that is 8. Correct? So these are the number of elements of the power set. Now the power set of the power set. Power set of the power set. That means what? If 8 number of elements a set have, then how many subsets of this set will have? So obviously what? This set contains 8 number of elements. So 2 raised to the power 8 will be the number of subsets of that set. And it is what? You can see that 2 raised to the power 8 is 256. Two sets are said to be equal set. We have already discussed that definition, but the thing is important here that if we'll have the definition of the subsets, then you can see that the definition can be written in another form also. What is that? That two sets A and B are said to be equal if the number of elements and all the elements are same in both sets, or in other words, if both A and B are subsets of each other. That means what? That A is subset of B and B is subset of A. Then we'll say that these two sets are equal. The next one is the universal set. What is that? That if all the sets under consideration, are subsets of a particular set, then the set is called as the universal set. And generally we'll denote it by this U. Like in a study of human population, all people in the world may be assumed to form the universal set. Or if we are taking these two sets under consideration, that A, B, and also another set C, those are having the elements 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, and alpha, beta, theta. Then the set which includes all these sets can be considered as the universal set. So you can see that U is the set. U is this set 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, alpha, beta, theta that can be considered as the universal set. If we look over two sets A and B, then they are said to be comparable if one of them is subset of other. If two sets are disjoint, then they are not said to be the comparable. So null set and any set S are comparable to the set S. And why this? The reason behind this is that the set S and the null set are the subsets of the set S. So for any set S, the null set and the set itself are comparable to that set. And every set is comparable to the universal set also, because every set is the subset of the universal set. Right? Now let us see a very interesting thing, that is the Venn diagram. And this Venn diagram is actually a pictorial presentation of sets, which are used to show operations between sets. And to draw these Venn diagrams, we follow certain points. Like what? Number one, the universal set under consideration, this is represented by a rectangle. So this is the rectangle, and here this is denoted by this universal set, and all of its subsets, those are under consideration, they are represented by the circles like this. Here A and B are two sets, those are the parts of the universal set. And here you can see that A is the set which is the part of this universal set. And the complement, let us see what is the complement. So complement is what? That if we subtract that part of the set from the universal set, then that is called as the complement. Means what? That if we would like to find the complement of this set A, then from the universal set, if I'll subtract this part, then this remaining part, which is shaded by this pink color, is the complement of this set A. So it is what? The complement of the set is what? Which is not in the set, right? So just look at here, that what is the complement? The complement of a set A with respect to the universal set, it is denoted by this A bar or AC, that is the complement of A, is the set which remains after extracting the set A. That means आपने universal set में से वो set जो है हटा दिया पूरा. Then that is called as the, जो भी बचा आपके पास में, that is called as the complement of that set. So just look at here that we can denote it by this U minus A also. Or in other words, we can define this complement of A like that U minus A, which means what? That all the elements X such that the element X belongs to this universal set, but does not belongs to this set A. So you can see here the example is that if the set U is this 1, 2, 3 up to 10, and if we say that this is the universal set under consideration, and if A is here, this 1, 3, 5, B is here, these are two sets, then the complement of A is what? The complement of A means actually that we exclude these elements from this universal set. So when we'll reduce these, then what we'll have? We'll have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And similarly for this B, the complement of B will be what? That is what? 5, 6, 9, 10. That means excluding these elements from the universal set, right? Okay, now let us see a very interesting thing related to the sets and their operations. There are basically two operations. Those are very basic. Like in the arithmetic, there are two operations, addition and multiplication. If somebody is saying, sir, there are two more operations like the subtraction and the division, but please do remember that there are only two basic operations, addition and multiplication. The subtraction is the subtraction is the inverse of the addition, and division is the inverse of the multiplication, right? So that's why only two basic operations in arithmetic, and similarly only two basic operations in the set theory. One is the union and another one is the intersection. What is this union actually? The union of two sets A and B is the set which contains all the elements those are present in A or in B or in both. So in set theory, when we'll with the help of this set theory, when we will discuss the next topic, that is the mathematical logic. In that logic, this OR operation is denoted by this, which is called as the disjunction. We'll discuss later on for this one. So if we take some example, like if we have two sets A and B, this is indicating for all, यानी कि जितने भी सेट हैं A और B के जैसे, उन सब की बात हम कर रहे हैं. तो for all A, B, the A union B is what? That all the elements X, those are in A or in B. So you can see that A union B contains all the elements of A and all the elements of B. Once you club those elements, that means when you find A union B, then it might possible that if there are some element, those are common in A and B. So what happened in that case? Then in that case, you should write them only one time. You should write them only one time. Means what? That if A is the set which contains 1, -1, 0, and 2, and B is containing this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then A union B is what? All these elements. But as you know that when we'll write a set, then we do not write any element more than one. So the elements of in the union, these are what? This -1, fine. 0, as 0 here and here, so we'll write only one time. Then the next element 1, that is also here, so we'll write only one time. 2, that is here and here, so we'll write only one time. And the elements, the remaining elements of the set B, so it is 3, 4, 5. So this is the union. So if A and B are two sets, then this shaded region is showing you the A union B, correct? And this part which is here, this one, it is actually what? This is the common area, and you will see that this is representing the intersection. Let us see an example that A and B are two sets. A is containing this 2, 3, 5, B is containing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then what is this A union B? That A union B containing all these elements. That means 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you can see that 3 and 5 are repeated, but we'll write only once. Write only once. Correct? And if we'll take another set C, which is having these element 2, 7, 9, then the union of all these, that is A union B union C, is what? The set of all elements those are present in A, B, and C. So we can write the union of these, correct? For the sets, a special property is there that is called as the commutative property. And what is that property? Let me tell you. Suppose if you have to add two numbers, any two number. Suppose that one number is 2 and another number is 5. So when you add 2 with 5, then you will get 7. And what happened? If you add 5 with 2, then it is also 7. Might possible that you are thinking that what kind of question I am asking? No, actually, what I would like to tell you that either you put 2 first or 5 first, it doesn't matter, but you will get the result same. So if we have this kind of property for that particular set, then we'll say that the set is holding the commutative property. The same thing is there in the multiplication. When you multiply 2 with 5, then you will get 10, or when you multiply 5 with 2, then you will get the what? You will get the same result. But this is not true, my dear, for the subtraction. If you subtract 2 from 5, that means 5 minus 2, then you will get what? You'll get 3. But when you subtract 5 from 2, that means 2 minus 5, then you do not get 3, you will get minus 3. And you know that minus 3 and 3 are different. So the subtraction operation does not follow the commutative property. But in the union of two sets, the union operation follows the commutative property. Means what? That it doesn't matter whether you are taking A union B or you are taking B union A, both are same. And if the sets are like that, you are taking this A union B first and then union C, or first you take B union C and then with union A, then they are also same, and this property is called as the associative property. You can understand this with the help of the numbers and the addition and multiplication. You can see that when I'll add 2, 3, and 5, then first if you add 2 plus 2 and 3 and then with this 5, then you will get what? You'll get 10. And in the same way, if you will write like this, first you add last 2 and then add with this first one, again you will get the same thing. So they are holding the associative property. The same thing is with the union of the sets. They are holding the commutative property as well as the associative property. Let us see the next operation, that is the intersection. Intersection between two sets is what? The common part in A and B. So if two sets are there, then their intersection contains all the elements those are common in A and B. Like here, you can see that this is the common region. So this is the A intersection B. This is A intersection B. And if we'll have three sets, suppose A, B, and C, then this is what? This is the intersection between them. That means this is the common region between them. So finally, you can say that A intersection B is the set of all collections, all the elements X, such that X belongs to A as well as X belongs to B. Right? And you can see that A intersection B is the set which is having the common element of A and B. And obviously this is what? This is the subset of A as well as the subset of B. अब आप देख सकते हो कि this is the common one. So A intersection B is in A. So A intersection B is the subset of B. And A intersection B is also in this set B. So A intersection B is the subset of B also. Correct? Okay. Now, let us see this example that the set A is this and B is this. And when we'll find the intersection, then you can see that there is no common element between them. So it means their intersection is a null set, or this phi. If A and B are these sets, then their intersection is what? That which element is common between them? You can see that 3 is here and 3 is also here. Then 7 is here and 7 is here. So only these two elements are common. So A intersection B is what? This set. As the union operation was holding the commutative property, the same thing is there in this intersection also. That it doesn't matter whether you are taking A intersection B or you are taking B intersection A. As you can see here, that if I'll take B intersection A, then what I'll search? I'll search only those elements those are common. So it doesn't matter whether I'll start with A or with B. So that's why this is holding the commutative property, and the same thing is for the associative property. So by this definition of intersection, we can define the disjoint sets in a different way. That is what? That if two sets are there, A and B, and if their intersection is phi, that means their intersection does not hold any element. It means they are two different sets. That's why the definition of the disjoint set we can give that two sets A and B are said to be disjoint if their intersection is a null set. So you can see that as for these two sets A and B, you can see that the A intersection B is phi. That means these two are to disjoint set. That means there is no element which is common in between them. The next one is this, the set difference. What is that? Suppose that A and B are two sets, then they are different. That means A minus B is the set of all elements those are in A but not in B. So it means what? That if we have two sets, suppose this set A and set B, and this is the common area. So if I'll extract or I'll delete this common area from the set A, that means what? It means this A minus B, यानी कि आपने A में से B का part हटा दिया, that is A minus B. And if I'll write this B minus A, that means you have eliminated the part of A from B. A part of A means what? The part which is common in A and B. So A minus B is called as the this A minus B is defined like this, that the element X which is in A but not in B. Or you can write like this, A minus A intersection B. You can also say that this A minus B is what? That is the complement of B with respect to A. क्योंकि आपने यहाँ पर यूनिवर्सल सेट के बजाय सेट A में से इसको माइनस कर दिया. So that's why it is called as the complement of the set B with respect to the set A. If you write like this U minus B, then it is what? It is the complement of B with respect to this universal set. Okay. If we take this example that A is equals to this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and B is here, then A minus B is what? That let us delete the common element from the set A, and the common elements are what? You can see that the A intersection B is what? 2, 3, 5. These are the common elements. So to write this A minus B, you have to do what? A minus A intersection B. A में से A intersection B हटा दीजिए, and you can see that when you eliminate this, then you will get this set. And similarly, B minus A is what? That from the set B, just delete those common elements between A and B, and those are this one. And by this you can observe that A minus B and B minus A are not equal. So this difference or this subtraction in sets, it's also a not holding the commutative property. Now let us see the applications of the sets. That is very interesting and very important, because you must know that how you can apply in the real life. If we'll see this the law of addition, and it is what? That if A and B are two disjoint sets, disjoint means that there is no common element between them. So obviously when I'll count the elements of A union B, then as you know that what is A union B? A union B is the set of all elements those are in A and B, correct? And if A and B are not disjoint, A and B are not disjoint, then what happened? Then it means that they don't have any common element. So the cardinality of this set is obviously equal to the cardinality of A and the plus the cardinality of B. Right? So as we know that if A and B are two disjoint sets, so their intersection is phi. That means the cardinality of A intersection B is what? 0. But if we see two finite sets A and B, then a very important principle is there from the set theory that is called as the inclusion and exclusion principle. And what is this principle? This principle is saying that the cardinality of A union B, cardinality of A union B is equals to the cardinality of A plus cardinality of B minus cardinality of A intersection B. Why it is? Because what happened? That here we have included that some common elements are there, because we have not mentioned whether the two sets are disjoint or not. If it is not disjoint, then it means some elements are common. And if those elements are common, then what happened? Then when we'll include the elements of the set A, then we include those common elements. And when we'll include the elements of B, then we also include those common elements. So those common elements are included 2 times. And that's why it is necessary to remove those common elements 1 time. And that's why this is here. And this is what? That A intersection B is counted twice. So it is subtracted here. Now, this principle can be extended for 3 sets also. And it is what? That the cardinality of A union B union C is equals to the cardinality of A plus cardinality of B plus cardinality of C minus cardinality of A intersection B minus cardinality of B intersection C minus cardinality of C intersection A plus cardinality of A intersection B intersection C. And you have to remember these 2 results for 2 sets as well as for these 3 sets, because these will be helpful to solve the real world problems. Although this principle can be extended for n number of sets, but will not discuss right now. Let us see a problem. That is the problem from the real world, that in a group of 800 people, so there are total 800 people, 550 can speak Hindi and 450 can speak English. Then we have to find how many of them speak both Hindi and English. Let us see the application of the set theory. Just look. Let us say that H is the set of people who can speak Hindi, and E is the set of people who can speak English. So what happened? it means that the total number of people are here, this H union E, that means the people who speak English and Hindi, because no other information is given. So we are assuming here that the people those are present, they are speaking either Hindi or English or both. ऐसा कोई भी नहीं है उसके अंदर जो कि दोनों में से कोई भी नहीं बोलता, ऐसा क्योंकि कोई इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं दी हुई है. We don't have such information, correct? And it is given to us that the number of people those are speaking Hindi is 550, and the people who is speaking English, they are 450, correct? Now what we would like to find, we would like to find the people, the number of people who speak both Hindi and English. That means we would like to find the cardinality of this H intersection E. And as we know that the principle of inclusion and exclusion is what? That is saying that H union E is equals to, here A is H and B is E. So H union E is what? Cardinality of H plus cardinality of E minus cardinality of H intersection E. And it means what? That we have to find this. So let us rewrite this equation like this. Shift here this on the left hand side and this on the right hand side. So we'll have this. And now let us put the values of this. 550 plus 450 minus this 800. So this is what? 200. So it means out of those 800 people, and following this information, you can conclude that out of these 800 people, 200 people are there. Those are speaking both the languages, Hindi and English. If you see another example, that is a college awarded 38 medals in football, 15 in basketball, and 20 in cricket. So the cardinality of F, B, and C are here that you can see. If these medals went to a total of 58 men and only 3 men got medals in all the 3 sports, so the total one is 58 and only 3 men got medals in all the 3 sports. So this is what? This is the intersection of all those. So that's what we have here, that F, cardinality of F, cardinality of B, cardinality of C, and their union and their intersection will have. Correct? Now, what is the question? How many received medals in exactly 2 of the 3 sports? Means what? Suppose a man get the medal in football and in cricket, right? But not in this basketball. So it means what? The complement of this. F is true, C is true, but B is not true. So we'll have to find this. Similarly, we have to find this, and we have to find this. So this is what? This is the set of those people. Those were getting the medals in football and cricket, but not in basketball. Similarly, this is the set of all those people. Those are getting the medals in basketball and cricket, but not in football. And similarly here, the people who are getting medal in football and basketball, but not in cricket. So we have to find the sum of all these, right? So just look at here. The number of men received medals in football and basketball, but not in cricket. That is what? This one. And it means what? Ki people, those are getting the medals in football and basketball. So let us subtract the common one. Matlab, if this we would like to find, then it is what? That F intersection B, because it contains the overall common part also. So when we'll subtract it, then we'll find this one, because the value for this one is 3 here. Similarly, for this one, that the number of men received medals in basketball and cricket, but not in football. And the number of men received medals in football and cricket, but not in basketball. That is like this. So let us add these. Then what we'll get, as we know that the by the inclusion and exclusion principle, we'll have this one, correct? And the sum of this F intersection B plus B intersection C plus C intersection F is what? From here we can find this one, that cardinality of F plus cardinality of B plus cardinality of C plus cardinality of F intersection B intersection C minus this, and we'll get that this value is 18 by putting all these values. And the number of men received medals in exactly 2 of the 3 sports, so the sum of these 3, and for these we know that this is equals to F cardinality of F intersection B minus 3, plus for this the cardinality of B intersection C minus 3, plus for this cardinality of F intersection C minus 3 that we have attained in the previous slide. You can check it. And therefore what happened, that this minus 9, and as we have already calculated this value from here, that is 18. So 18 minus 9, that is 9. So there are 9 people in total those received medals exactly 2 of the 3 sports. Okay. The next one is the ordered pair. An ordered pair is the pair of objects those appear in a specific order. मतलब कि पहले A आ गया फिर बाद में B आया. And here, as I told you, that the object A appears first and then object B appears, then such pair is called as the ordered pair. Right? But here this AB is different from BA, because here B is taken first, and this is possible when both are true. Then this is possible only when A and B are equal. And here this, in this ordered pair AB, A is called as the first entry or the first element, and B is called the second entry or the second element. When we look over this Cartesian product of sets, then what it is? We first say that A and B are 2 non-empty sets. That means they are not null sets. Then the set of all ordered pairs AB, such that A belongs to A and B belongs to B, is called the Cartesian product of the sets A and B, and it is denoted by this A cross B. And obviously you can see that A cross B is what? That all the collection of ordered pairs AB such that A belongs to the set A and B belongs to the set B. If I'll say that any one of them is a null set, then obviously there is no element in this A cross B, so it will be a null set. If you say that B cross A, then it will be what? It will be this BA collection of all these elements such that A belongs to A and B belongs to B. So it means in this ordered pair, the element of B first appears due to this one. So you can see that A cross B and B cross A, not necessarily they will be equal. Let us see an example, that if A is this and B is this, then we have to find A cross B, B cross A cross A, B cross B, and all these. So just look at here. That A cross B is what? We'll take the element of A. We'll take the element of A first. That is what? A. And let us make the combination with all the elements of B. So what it is? A1, A2, A3. Now next for this B. So B1, B2, B3. B1, B2, B3. So this is what? This is A cross B. Similarly, you can find this B cross A, and you can observe that A cross B and B cross A are not equal. and you can find this A cross A, B cross B. Now you can see that this A cross B intersection B cross A is what? You have to apply that intersection operation. That means the elements, those are common. And you can see that A1 is not equal to 1A. So don't take those as the common elements. A cross B is here, and this is the B cross A. So A1 is not equal to 1A, correct? So here what happened, that none of the element in this A cross B and B cross A are common. So this is having this phi, right? And if you have to take the union, then you can take as well. Finally, in this topic, what you have learned the concept of sets and various kinds of sets, operations on sets, the Venn diagram and their operations, and the applications of sets in real life. So thank you very much from my side. If you guys have any question, then you may write in the chat box or you may mail, so that the person who is coordinating will give me those questions and we can discuss.
Thank you, Dr. Alok. Thank you so much for this enlightening session. We are in the mood of now sign off, because the time is now exactly being completed. Although we will discuss the query session also in the discussion form, that schedule will also be shared to the learners in the upcoming weeks,
Okay.
so that the subject matter expert will guide you in that each and every respect. Thank you, Dr. Alok sir. I am making the session close. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.